Russell Wilson and Sean Payton get along really well.
Spade a spade. That's a historic victory.
What's the question? I just finished telling you. Next question.
This video is far overdue, and I really have to apologize to you guys. I had to fast on Monday on Yom Kippur. I was out for 24 hours from Sunday night to Monday afternoon. Pushed all of my content creation a little bit back, and right when I got the opportunity to start making content, well, I aimed for something that was a little bit quick so I could get you something in the form of the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce video. And then, of course, Damian Lillard got traded, and I had to address that on the flight mic. But now I have time, and we can finally get to the bottom of this because it's something I really wanted to discuss for quite some time. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. NordVPN is my favorite VPN because they're more than just a VPN. One, they'll protect you from harmful malware, which makes browsing safer and smoother by identifying malware-ridden files and stopping you from landing on malicious websites. Two, you can stop intrusive tracking. It hides your IP address. It cloaks your virtual location. It shields you from data traffic from snoopers and protects you from cyber attacks. You avoid malicious ads, which is really helpful if you happen to have a child browsing the internet. You always have cybersecurity. It protects your browsing even when you're not connected to their VPN server. But you can use a VPN for way more than that. For instance, whenever I want to watch the Los Angeles Lakers in LA on League Pass, I'm not able to access it because, well, I'm in Los Angeles and that's a blacked out channel. So I just use NordVPN, say I'm in a completely different state,
and bam, just like that, I can watch the Lakers lose.
And I can even hear the home announcer's frustration as they're calling the game.
James won't stay for the finish. He's walking to the locker room already.
Another reason why I highly recommend NordVPN is you could avoid Netflix password sharing ban. Yeah, Netflix is really cheap for doing this to us, so we're gonna get them back by doing this back to them. NordVPN has a meshnet feature to create your own network where up to 60 devices in different locations can appear to have the same IP address, which gets you around the ban. NordVPN will make your day-to-day life significantly easier, and it's only a price of a cup of coffee. Yeah, I would take Nord over this. So go to the link in the description down below to get the 2-year plan with a huge discount, plus 4 months extra. It's completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. And thank you, Nord, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? For the second off-season in a row, the Denver Broncos decided to make a huge trade. Once again, going all in on an individual that has won a Super Bowl and has a very established pedigree. Only this time, they're going for a head coach. They traded a first-round pick, which was the number 29 overall pick, and a second-round pick to the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, and a third-round pick in 2024. The philosophy was very simple. If you watched the Denver Broncos last year, everything was perfect for this team. They just had no offensive rhythm at all whatsoever. Defensively, they were dominant. They had no problem holding their opposing teams to 21.12 points per game. Problem is, they supplemented that with averaging about 16.9 points per game. At the same time, that defense would get weaker. In the middle of the season, they would trade Bradley Chubb, for instance, to the Miami Dolphins. This team was slowly being dismantled as a result of a failed season underneath the Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson era. And then they would trade for Sean Payton, and Sean Payton would go on to say, and I quote, "Nathaniel Hackett's time in Denver might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was." And to be honest, he's not wrong. I mean, it's up there with Urban Meyer in year one with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but still, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing to say, especially when you have yet to take the field for the Denver Broncos. So the philosophy was very simple. Russell Wilson is coming off of one of the worst seasons of his career. He had a 61% completion percentage. He threw for 16 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. But the story of it all was his QBR, which was a lowly 38.7 last year. The Denver Broncos thought that they were trading for a guy that had a 67.1 QBR. They thought that they were still trading for a Pro Bowler, which Russell Wilson made the Pro Bowl in 2021. And bear in mind, the Denver Broncos paid a huge price to get Russell Wilson, trading a first-round pick in 2022 and 2023, second-round picks in 2022 and 2023, a fifth-round pick in 2022, Drew Lock and Noah Fant, in addition to Shelby Harris. A huge haul, which aged horribly, by the way. I mean, oh my God, I don't think there's a way that the Denver Broncos could make this up. And the worst part of all is that they extended Russell Wilson shortly after trading for him. But what's interesting about this year is, I'll admit, Russell Wilson isn't the problem. Sean Payton has done his job. He came in to fix Russell Wilson, and so far, I'm seeing great throws from Russell Wilson. I mean, for instance, take a look at this throw to Courtland Sutton. This is signature Russell Wilson, rolling out of the pocket, scrambling, looking for an open man, finding a wide receiver at the end of the end zone, only he doesn't have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf this time. He has Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and they're dropping wide open balls. I mean, this was very catchable, but Courtland Sutton couldn't come down with it. And that's before we mention how many times Courtland Sutton fumbled versus the Miami Dolphins, which, by the way, this past weekend, I don't know if you've heard, the Denver Broncos faced off against the Miami Dolphins, who are coached by their former ball boy, Mike McDaniel. And this game really just showed everything that's wrong with the Denver Broncos. And for one, I'll have to admit, it's not Russell Wilson. I mean, if we're being honest, Russell Wilson played well in this game. He threw for over 306 yards. He had one touchdown. He was 23 of 38. His QBR was a 67.2. His rating was an 83.9. But it seemed like it was the pieces around him that really failed him. I mean, Courtland Sutton fumbling the ball not once but twice in crucial situations that set up easy Miami Dolphins touchdowns. I mean, let's take this from the top. Miami Dolphins drive down the field easily before Tua finds Tyreek Hill for a 54-yard touchdown. Then the Broncos go 3 and out in about a minute and 33 seconds. The Miami Dolphins are able to drive down the field to find Devin Achane for a touchdown. And then the Denver Broncos are able to answer back. So it's not out of hand yet. It's 14-17 at this point. The Dolphins are able to find Devin Achane for yet another touchdown, and the Broncos would only settle for a field goal after failing to convert in the red zone. But this is where it would get bad. Denver Broncos would go 3 and out, which would result in yet another Miami touchdown. And at this point, it's 10-28. And when the Broncos get the ball back, within 16 seconds, Courtland Sutton would fumble the football for the first time. The fumble would get recovered and would be taken all the way to the Denver 3, which would just result in Raheem Mostert hooking up his fantasy football owners with a 3-yard touchdown. Broncos would come back with a 9-play drive, once again failing to convert in the red zone, and would settle for a field goal. And they would go into halftime. This is where it would just get stupid. The Broncos would go 4 and out, which would result in a Miami Dolphins touchdown. Then Courtland Sutton would fumble for the second time this game, which would again result in a Miami Dolphins touchdown to one of their running backs, Raheem Mostert. And right when you think it can't get worse, the offense starts to crater. Russell Wilson would get intercepted by Emmanuel Ogbah, which would result in yet another short touchdown for the Dolphins. And at that point, the backups would go in, right? There's nothing for the Dolphins to prove. But to really show you how shitty the Denver Broncos defense is, here's PS2 getting torched by Chosen Anderson, who is the wide receiver 7 for the Miami Dolphins, and Mike White. So at this point, what is the problem? Well, according to Diana Rossini, who mentioned on the Pat McAfee show, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are fine.
Or just like the relationship between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. This is one of those developing relationships that's going into the positive space, and it really has been. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton get along really well.
Well, you could tell, man, Sean Payton really was angry as a result of this. I mean, bro's acting like he's Russell Wilson in this clip.
Listen, this season's full of those type of moments, you know, and this one obviously is difficult to be sitting here 0-3 talking to you guys. There'll be more.
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game.
I'm aware.
Third time a team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question? What's the question?
How do you feel about it?
I just finished telling you.
Historically embarrassing.
Next question.
And the best part of all is Sean Payton predicted as an analyst last year that Teddy Bridgewater would eventually replace Tua as the team's starting QB. And bro, Tua really took that personally. I mean, the game he had was fantastic. Personally, from the Miami Dolphins perspective, I'm just happy Tua's healthy. I thought it was so risky for him to come back, and for him to come back to this, I mean, this is a storyline that I could get behind. I am so happy to see Tua do the things he's doing, captaining one of the most electrifying offenses in all of football. I love how the Tyreek Hill trade's paying off, and this team's only going to get better once Jalen Ramsey comes back. But for the Denver Broncos, I really don't know what the solution is. I mean, I can tell you that Russell Wilson isn't the problem anymore, but this team just lacks discipline all around. How do you fumble the football twice in a game? And then the defense wasn't stopping anything. Granted, they're going up against the Miami Dolphins offense, but wow, I don't think we've ever seen something like this before. And the worst part is this could get significantly worse for the Denver Broncos. If the Denver Broncos aren't able to successfully beat the winless Chicago Bears this upcoming week, then they're probably going to be looking at a rebuild. They're considering trading Justin Simmons, maybe their wide receivers as well. At this point, it's time to just call it quits on the Russell Wilson era. But could you? You already owe him so much money. I guess you could start rebuilding from other aspects, but this is just not what the Denver Broncos wanted. This is not what they were hoping for when they traded for Russell Wilson. This is the worst case scenario that I've ever seen of any team trading for an established quarterback. And I'm gonna reiterate, this year isn't his fault, but it just seems like each and every time they somehow come up with a solution to one of their problems, a brand new problem shows itself. So if you're a Broncos fan, let me know what the solution to this is in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.